Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is today's take with Alex, and I'm your host Alex. Today we're talking about Iran. For more than 3 centuries, Iran has stood at the crossroads of empire, ideology, and global power. It's a nation with one of the world's oldest civilizations, yet today it's often defined by revolution, repression, and regional conflict. To understand modern Iran, we have to look beyond headlines about nuclear programs or proxy wars. We need to understand how Iran arrived here, how foreign intervention, authoritarian rule, and religious absolutism reshaped an entire society. This isn't just a history lesson, it's a story about how power is built, how it's enforced, and who ultimately pays the price. In the early 1700s, Iran was ruled by the Safavid Empire, a dynasty that had already transformed the country by making Shia Islam the state religion. But by the start of the 18th century, Safavid power was collapsing. Weak leadership left Iran vulnerable, and in 1722, Afghan forces invaded, sacking the capital city of Isfahan and effectively ending Safavid rule. What followed was chaos. Military strongmen and regional warlords fought for control, most notably Nader Shah, a brilliant but brutal commander who briefly rebuilt Iran into a regional empire after crowning himself Shah in 1736. His conquest stretched as far as India, but his assassination in 1747 plunged the country right back into instability. By the end of the century, Iran was exhausted, fractured, and ripe for exploitation. The Qajar dynasty took power in the late 1700s and ruled Iran for more than a century, but it was a period marked by decline rather than strength. Throughout the 19th century, Iran steadily lost territory to Russia through humiliating treaties, while Britain exerted influence from the south. The country became a buffer state, technically independent, but functionally constrained by foreign powers. This era planted a deep national trauma. Iranians watched their sovereignty erode while their rulers failed to modernize or defend the nation. In 1906, frustration boiled over into the constitutional revolution. Iranians forced the creation of a parliament and constitution, one of the first such movements in the Middle East. But the promise of reform was repeatedly undermined by royal interference and foreign pressure. The idea that Iran's destiny was being shaped by outsiders became deeply ingrained. That resentment set the stage for the rise of Reza Shah Pahlavi in 1925. Reza Shah pursued aggressive modernization, railways, industry, secular courts, public education. He curtailed clerical power and pushed Iran toward a centralized nation state. But modernization came at a cost: political repression. When Allied forces occupied Iran during World War II, Reza Shah was forced to abdicate. His son, Mohammad Reza Shah, took the throne and ruled for decades. The turning point came in 1953. After Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized Iran's oil industry, the US and Britain orchestrated a covert coup that removed him and restored the Shah's authority. That moment permanently altered Iran's relationship with the West. The Shah continued modernizing through programs like the White Revolution, expanding women's rights, land reform, and industrial growth, but his rule became increasingly authoritarian, enforced by the Savak secret police. Economic growth surged, but political freedom vanished. By the late 1970s, opposition came from everywhere: students, workers, religious clerics, nationalists, and leftists. In 1979, the Shah fled the country. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini returned from exile and transformed the revolution into something far more radical: a theocratic system based on, on Vilayat Faqih, or the guardianship of the Islamic jurist. Ultimate power no longer rested with elected officials, but with the supreme leader. Iran didn't just change governments, it changed identity. Almost overnight, civil law gave way to religious authority, and dissent became heresy. Since 1979, Iran's leadership has pursued influence not through conventional wars, but through proxies. Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, support for Palestinian militant groups. This strategy allows Iran to project power while avoiding direct confrontation with stronger adversaries. But the cost has been enormous. These proxy conflicts have destabilized entire regions, fueled sectarian violence, and prolonged wars that have killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. Iran frames this as resistance against foreign aggression, but for many in the region, it looks like permanent instability. Economically, Iran's post revolution record is mixed, but deeply constrained. Before 1979, Iran experienced some of the fastest growth in the world. Since the revolution, long term growth has slowed dramatically. Sanctions have slashed oil exports, inflation regularly exceeds 30%, youth unemployment remains stubbornly high. While literacy and access to basic services improved, corruption, mismanagement, and massive spending on military and proxy forces have drained resources that could have strengthened civilian life. Iran didn't become poor, but it became stuck. Perhaps the most profound change has been inside Iranian society itself. The Islamic Republic enforces strict social controls, mandatory hijab laws, censorship of media, criminalization of dissent. Women face legal inequality. Religious minorities face persecution. Journalists, artists, and activists face imprisonment or worse. Protests in 2009, 2019, and especially the 2022 Women, Life, Freedom uprising show that resistance hasn't disappeared, it's been suppressed. Executions have surged, surveillance has expanded, fear has become a governing tool. Iran's story isn't one of inevitability. There we go, we got it. It's the result of choices by rulers, by foreign powers, by institutions that prioritize control over consent. Understanding Iran means understanding how revolutions can harden into regimes, how ideology can replace accountability, and how ordinary people bear the consequences. The future of Iran remains unwritten, but its past offers a clear warning. Power without restraint always demands a price. As Iran's regime clings to power amid escalating domestic protests and regional aggression, President Donald Trump is actively considering targeted intervention, potentially through intensified sanctions, diplomatic isolation, or military measures, to dismantle its nuclear ambitions, curb its proxy networks, and support the Iranian people's push for freedom. This stance, rooted in his administration's maximum pressure campaign, aims to neutralize Iran's destabilizing influence, fostering a more secure Middle East by weakening the axis of resistance that fuels conflicts from Yemen to Lebanon and enabling broader peace initiatives like the Abraham Accords to flourish. In a profound sense, such decisive action could serve as a precursor to Geula, the long-awaited redemption, by controlling forces of oppression and paving the way for an era of justice, stability, and divine fulfillment in the region. So what do you think? Should America help restore Iran to its former glory, or wait for matters to play out on their own? Go ahead, drop your comments below, like and subscribe for more breakdowns and big trends just like this. And as always, thank you for watching and thank you for your support.